Hi, Jim Van Zandt here, one of the pastors, Carlisle United Methodist Church, sermon in 3 minutes. You see the church decorated in red today. That's because it was Pentecost Sunday last week. It's the day that the church celebrates God's gift of the Holy Spirit given to the world at that Pentecost celebration in the first century. You can read all about it in the book of Acts, chapter 2, first 12 verses. I've read that story 100 times at least, or even more than that, and I was never struck by two simple words until when I prepared the message for the church here, and those were the words, "and suddenly." The story of the coming of Pentecost begins with an "and suddenly" moment. Suddenly, which means quick and without warning. Something happened, and what Luke is saying as he tells the story is the coming of the Holy Spirit was quick and without warning. It probably was to Luke and to the disciples as you read how he tells the story, but it certainly wasn't to God. I'm sure he had set that divine appointment maybe since the beginning of time. It's interesting to note how many important "and suddenly" moments that there are in the scriptures, and the "and suddenly" things that happen at various Pentecost celebrations in history. Tradition has it that King David was born during a Pentecost celebration that God gives the greatest king Israel ever has. The Torah was given to the people. God gave his very word at a Pentecost celebration. And now at this particular Pentecost celebration, he gives the Holy Spirit. Each time at Pentecost, there's an "and suddenly" moment that marks a shift in the way God chooses to operate. And in the story of the first Pentecost, the first person we see changed by this "and suddenly" moment is the disciple Peter. He himself has an "and suddenly" moment. He was the one who denied Christ 3 times. He was the one who went back to fishing. Why all of a sudden does he now stand up and begin preaching? And Luke tells us that 3,000 were saved that day. It's because he had an "and suddenly" moment. You've had "and suddenly" moments. I've had "and suddenly" moments. Maybe moments where you had some courage you didn't know that you had. Maybe where you said some things you didn't know what you said, but it changed people's lives. God uses us all the time as an "and suddenly" moment. All of us need "and suddenly" moments, not only to deliver them, but to receive them from God. And in order to receive the "and suddenly" moments, we simply need to be open to God's movement in our lives. Sometime this week, pause for just a moment so that you might be open to God's Holy Spirit. Maybe you can have an "and suddenly" moment. Sermon in 3 minutes. Have a great day.